Hello everyone and welcome to the GeekWave. It's the wonderful world of GeekWave, as this week we follow the yellow brick road, I guess, down to a wonderful land full of mystery and intrigue and a bunch of weird shit. We're talking Wizard of Oz stuff today. I love Wizard of Oz. Let's talk about it and its cultural impact and whatever. Yeah, we'll get into it. We got a lot of news to talk about. Well, not a lot. Stuff that's kind of interesting. I can't even remember if I've talked about some of this before or not. I don't know. What's going on in Hollywood? Nothing we're talking about is an original idea, except for somebody leaving a show, which is, I mean, that's not an original idea, but that's like the only thing that we're talking about that isn't news of like, we're doing a thing again. Yeah, woohoo, yeah. Should we just get into it? You know, no need to dilly-dally. We'll just get right into the episode and talk about it. For starters, this news came out a while ago. We took a week off again. I've been super busy, so who gives a shit? You don't care. You don't care. You're here to learn about Lara Croft getting another Tomb Raider movie or TV show. Whatever. This is the Phoebe Waller-Bridge one. I mean, she's been attached to this since Fleabag ended, practically. And now it's like, yeah, Amazon's going to do it. So they're going to make it. Probably. We'll see if it actually happens. So far, we do have a front runner who is in talks to play the lead. Sophie Turner. Good choice. She's always fun. I don't know her range that well, but playing Sansa is not an easy task. So that's a cool idea. I mean, you just got divorced from Joe was it last year? Yeah. You're free to have fun. Girl power, all to it. I really like Tomb Raider. Like, that's the kind of game series I find fun. Let's like evade stuff when we're doing like fun missions. It's a cool kind of story. There's been more than one movie, and we have a TV show with Haley Atwell voicing the animated character. So more to it, I guess. I think we'll talk Tomb Raider when we get close to the release of Tomb Raider. I don't know. Yeah, I'm for it. I don't know if this show can survive because I don't know if like the current landscape of television would allow it to exist in like the way it should. But I guess we'll see. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no faith in any of this stuff to like go the way it should, you know? Ugh, I'm so upset. But I'm excited. Does that make sense? Does anything I just say make sense to anybody? What am I doing? I'm just more interested in the next piece of news we're going to talk about. So let's just get to that. It was revealed only a couple days ago that longtime voice actress Pamela Hayden will be stepping down from The Simpsons. Now, she's not like a key cast member like one of the big 5 or 4. She is like number 7 or 8 on the call sheet, you know? You have the big ones. You got Dan and Julie and Yardley and Nancy, and then you got Hank and Harry. She's probably next. I say it's like her and Tress MacNeille would be like next on that list. But Pamela Hayden, she has been the iconic voice for Milhouse and Jimbo and a bunch of like other recurring characters. She is retiring. She is stepping down from the show, which I completely, utterly understand. You have been doing this show for almost 40 years. You are now 70 years old. It's probably a strain on the voice. And when you signed that deal, probably in the 90s, did you ever think you'd still be doing it today? That's what you just gotta wonder. So I understand completely why she would step down. I think she also did like Rod and Todd at various points. I get it. Like I'm for this kind of thing. If The Simpsons is going to continue, and news like this really leads me to think it can continue without key cast members, then let's do it. You know, we recast superheroes all the time. We have new voice actors playing characters all the time. They've replaced voice actors on the show. Now, there's been a couple characters that they've retired, like Edna and Maude, but a key cast member like Milhouse, yeah, you could get another person to do the voice. I mean, you can't get rid of Milhouse. Now, I don't know if the plan is like, we're just going to write Milhouse out of stories. I don't think that's the case. Like, when we go on to season 37, you know, are we going to get like a new friend for Bart and just say Milhouse isn't there anymore? I don't think that's the case. I think Milhouse will be there with a new voice actor. Now, Rod and Todd can be background characters. Jimbo could have less of a presence, and like Nelson can step up into some of that role. But I can see like just moving away. I mean, imagine doing 36 years of like one of the most iconic sidekicks in the history of television. That's insane. I think she did an incredibly great performance. She has defined what it means to be like a classic character. Milhouse is iconic as all hell. I am for this. Like, I think her work will stand the test of time. That is a hard character to do justice to, and she did it really well. I think Pamela Hayden's a great voice actress, and I completely understand how this is like necessary. Do not be surprised if this opens up the floodgates. Harry Shearer is 80 years old. That can't be good for his voice. Julie Kavner is 74. We all were saying Marge has a different voice now. Don't be surprised if she slows down. I think guys like Dan and I think even Nancy are going to keep going for sure. And, you know, even Yeardley, but don't be surprised. And Hank Azaria, I think, of course, he's going to be another one. He was definitely like the younger of the cast, which is weird to say because he's 60 years old. But don't be surprised if we see more announcements like this coming. If we say Tress MacNeille is stepping away. If we say Harry Shearer is stepping away. We have reached the point where we can have new people come in to do those voices if we need that character to return. We have a new voice for Dr. Hibbert. We got a new voice for Carl. For some reason, we still don't have a new voice for Apu. God forbid we can't get someone to do Apu. But yeah, we'll definitely, I'm 100% confident we're going to see someone else do Milhouse, and that's okay. That is a storied career, and one I would be super proud of. If for most of my adult life I was known as like one of the most infamous characters in like television, that would be pretty damn cool. I would support that immensely. I think that's great. Congratulations to Pamela Hayden. You will go down in history as one of like the best voice actresses of your generation, and that is completely acceptable. I'm not mad about this. I've been trying to tell people in my life, because I'm a big Simpsons fan, and I always tell people like the show is in its renaissance, which is so hard to believe because you stopped watching like decades ago. And part of that renaissance is new voices, not just like for the writing staff and animation staff, but for the voice actors. Like, we have to accept that, you know, things run for a long time. You look at like long-running anime series or even just long-running soap operas. You get new people in all the time, and it either helps or hinders it. And this is just the first in what's going to be happening very soon. I'm not surprised by this. Harry Shearer, I think, is going to be the next one. I think they could easily write some of his characters out, and I'm not against it. Like, you're going on to 81 years old. How much more could you do? You know, I don't know how much more you could handle. It'd be a lot. It'd be a strain. I'd imagine it would be a strain. So good for Pamela. Very excited to see what's going to happen on The Simpsons and if she does anything interesting. I don't think she's going to work. She doesn't need to work. I know she's not doing like the $1 million that like the main 6 cast are doing. She doesn't need to work though. Whatever. Next piece of news. Still speculative times for this, but I figured we'd bring it up because I'm genuinely interested in the current state of the DCU. And I think, I'm saying this loosely, I think we're going to cover everything in the DCU at this point in time until it becomes like the Marvel Universe and I'm too exhausted by it. But the current rumor from a couple days ago is that famed director Luca Guadagnino, who just signed on to do a remake of American Psycho, well, before he does American Psycho, him and writing partner Justin Krasinski, what's his name? He did both the movies that Guadagnino had come out this year, Challengers and Queer. They are potentially developing a film for the DCU based on the character Sergeant Rock, which is crazy. Even more crazy is Daniel Craig is being eyed to star in the film, which would be insane. Reuniting the Queer team. That movie looks so good. I cannot wait to see that. That's coming out very soon by the time this video is out. Man, I'm excited. I'm super excited for that movie. Look, Daniel Craig's not going to be Baldur the Brave, you know? If he has to wear a World War I or World War II crazy outfit that's just here's a soldier and I'm leading G.I. Robot and Frankenstein and the Unknown Soldier and maybe Challengers of the Unknown, just random fucking characters from weird tales of the DC universe into battle, I think he'll do it. He likes to have fun. I like this era of Daniel Craig. He dresses so fucking cool. I am obsessed with the fits that Rachel Weisz has him in. He looks amazing. He looks so hot these days. He's always been hot. But he's entered the scraggy hair, I'm so comfortable with how I look that I know what I'm doing. And Queer is just gonna not boost his career, but he's gonna get an Oscar nom, which is deserved. And he's yeah, I'll be your stupid World War II guy. I don't have to sign on for a million movies. I can just be in World War II and die, and then the legacy of the people I fought with can continue because I fought with a fucking robot and a vampire, maybe. Yeah, that's sick. That's a great idea. Luca's a nerd. Of course he is. He's always attached to do movies. We know Justin Kuritsky's? What's his name? I don't remember. He's a nerd too. I don't think this would be a standard World War II movie. It's no, it's weird. They got weird weapons. We're fighting a werewolf or something. I love that. I hope it happens. But this is a Luca Guadagnino project. It's not going to get made. How many projects has he attached himself to in the past 5 years? Where's that Audrey Hepburn biopic you were doing with Rooney Mara? You just aren't making some of these things. But the thing I really like about what James Gunn is doing with this direction for the DC stuff is making it in any era. Don't worry about the timeline. If we tell a cool story in World War II, those characters could bleed over to Creature Commandos. They could bleed over to this. It doesn't matter. We're not worried about the sacred timeline and everything lining up. We're just telling cool stories of cool characters. And I think that's awesome. I think that's really freaking cool. It's a smarter idea. Well, smarter maybe. It's a different type of idea that these types of movies need. Don't get bogged down with all the crap. Just tell fun stories. That's what we really want. Focus on the writing and the characters as opposed to the next piece, which is cool. So Sergeant Rock, if we get it, it probably won't be till 2027 or 2028, but hey, that's exciting, isn't it? How to Train Your Dragon got a trailer for the new movie that looks like the old movie. I don't have much to say on this one. Just, yeah, those movies are good. This looks fine. I like the director. He seems like a really nice man. And is this just a way to remind people that they got a new park opening up at Universal Studios? Yeah, of course. We saw set photos for Moana as well with Dwayne Johnson in the Moana garb. I'm yeah, I don't need this in my life. It means nothing to me. Looks good, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. More casting for the Masters of the Universe film. We've got a couple before that. Nicholas Guy is going to be Prince Adam, He-Man. Alison Brie is potentially going to be Evelyn. Camila Mendes is Teela. They were reporting Jared Leto for Skeletor. Don't think that's going to happen now. Well, early talks for the role of Duncan, the Man-at-Arms, is going to Idris Elba. And I'm oh, sick. That's cool. But Idris Elba is a black man. Camila Mendes is not a black woman. Who are we going to get to play Sorceress? That's what I want to know. I mean, I know it's a magical fantasy world and it means nothing. But those are the questions other people are going to ask, so I just wanted to like get ahead of it. I'm for it. Like, if you were to give me like a short list of people to play Man-at-Arms, I could easily throw Idris Elba on that list. Like, he can grow a mustache. He can grow a beard. Put him in the mustache, for God's sakes. That's awesome. But it just makes me go, who is going to be Sorceress? Someone in the same age bracket as somebody like Idris Elba. And Camila Mendes is their daughter, so who is that going to be? It's exciting to me. Sorceress is my favorite character in He-Man mythology. This is kind of cool. Like, I get excited for stuff like this. But Idris will sign on to anything, so that doesn't really mean anything. And Travis Knight is not my favorite director. But, I don't know. That's cool. Who's going to be Orko? Will they do Orko? This could go really good or bad. I don't know which one it's going to be. I mean, Nicholas Galitzine, he is like, he's picked some good projects, I suppose. So maybe it'll be worth it. We'll see. But Idris for Man-at-Arms, that is such a good choice. Such a good choice. Oh my goodness, I love it. And our final piece of news to talk about, it literally came out like right before I started recording. I'm like, let's just throw it in because I'd rather get this out of my system. Are you familiar with the franchise that is Maximum Effort? That's like the producing house in the studio that is Ryan Reynolds' bullshit thing. I'm not a fan. Look, I have talked about this so much. I'm not a fan of Ryan Reynolds and the stuff he makes. But, hey, Paramount Animation's Mighty Mouse movie comes to save the day with Ryan Reynolds, Maximum Effort, and Free Guy writer Matt Lieberman. Okay, couple things. It's animated, good. That works better for like the type of stories that these two guys, Matt Lieberman and Ryan Reynolds, want to make. I like that. Free Guy is a terrible movie and I don't like it. But, if you tell me we're going to make a Mighty Mouse movie in the vein of like Chip and Dale, that's kind of fun. A self-aware little silly movie. That's cool. Do I think this creative team is as funny as the Lonely Island guys? No, I don't think they are as funny. But I can't hate that. Here's what I would want from a Mighty Mouse movie like today. Nothing. I mean, I don't want one, for starters. But I guess making fun of like superhero stuff. But the problem is, that is just Reynolds' stick right now, is making fun of like superhero stuff, so I don't need like an animated version of that. I really hope Reynolds doesn't voice Mighty Mouse if it comes to that, because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him do it. I think you get like a superhero guy to do it, or someone completely different, you know, Will Forte, or just go in a different direction. I don't know. I mean, I'd rather they do this than like a live action hybrid thing where it's like a Mighty Mouse of the real world. Remember when Underdog had a movie with Jason Lee as Underdog? Yeah, let's not do that with Mighty Mouse. Okay. I don't know. There's something there. There's something there maybe, I suppose. We'll see. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's leave this world behind for a more colorful Emerald one. Full disclosure, folks, before recording this episode, I wanted to go see Wicked. Not because I'm, like, really jazzed about Wicked, but because this is, like, a Wicked episode. I knew I didn't want to, like, review the movie because there's going to be people that like it more than me. I can already tell you. It's not my kind of musical. It's not because I hate musicals. You should know by now I love musicals. I just don't like musicals that are, like, based on existing IP for the sake of death and creativities. Look, no, I don't need to talk shit about Wicked. As a musical that was off-Broadway than on-Broadway, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it has its audience. The music is fine to me. I think it's a really fun story until the second half when it's like, what if everything led to The Wizard of Oz? I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm watching the fucking musical that's about the Wizard of Oz stuff. You don't have to remind me we're in the Wizard of Oz world. I know what I signed up for. That's neither here nor there. I got way too busy over this past weekend. I could only see one movie, so I saw Gladiator 2 with my family, and it was fine, you know. I don't think Glicked was going to be like for me regardless, because it's two things that I'm just whatever towards. But it was a good movie, and then, you know, I'll see Wicked eventually. And I'll talk about it some point. I don't know when, but I'll talk about it, maybe. Look, it's not for me. But that's not going to stop me from wanting to talk about the world, the wonderful wizarding world, whatever. It's the Wizard of Oz, okay? I wanted to talk about this for a while because I think it's so fascinating. And one of the things I love talking about on this channel, we've done it before, talk about like things that endure throughout time, that just become like cultural staples regardless of like if you've seen what they are or like if you haven't seen what they are. Just things that exist in so much popularity that they just become well regarded for existing. That is what the Wizard of Oz is, you know. It is so prominent and popular just in like the cultural zeitgeist of what a movie is. If you like see a montage of film, you're probably going to see the Wizard of Oz in there. If you're looking at anything from like the old times of studio films, you're going to see the Wizard of Oz presented in there. It's so prominent and impactful a movie that they've been referencing it for so long. Like there was a good moment throughout any time you were watching a show that somebody would make a Wizard of Oz reference. Like I know two animated ones that come to my mind right away are Futurama did their whole Wizard of Oz thing, which was really fun. You can do that. Phineas and Ferb did one too, which is like, yeah, of course they did. And then I remember like being like a Disney kid, you know, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody did one. Like it was just prominence. People wanted to talk about the Wizard of Oz. Anybody could make a Wizard of Oz reference. It could be Dorothy or Toto or the Tin Man or the Scarecrow or the Lion or the Wicked Witch or the Flying Monkeys or Munchkinland or the Wizard or a Yellow Brick Road or anything like that. An Emerald City even. And people would know what you're talking about. The iconography became so iconic from the first film that suddenly it became the most prominent thing ever. It reached the levels, and I'm trying to think of like other things that like went this high and successful, where you reference it in a comic book, you reference it in a TV show, you reference it in another movie. You can reference it just based on like one sentence, one phrase, and everyone knows it. You can dedicate entire episodes of your comedy, your sitcom, to this. The other ones that came to mind for me, aside from The Wizard of Oz, are things like A Christmas Carol, where you could do an episode of a show where somebody like has a dream and they have like visitors seeing like the world without them. A couple of like other shows would do things on like The Breakfast Club. But I think A Christmas Carol is the only one that comes close, where you can just have, oh, this person represents the past, the present, the future. This person represents the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion. This person's Dorothy. And you can just do something with that. And it's another one of those things I think is very interesting that just shows you like the nature of like how important one movie can be. Is the film is more iconic than like the book series. Now, I haven't read all of the books. Now, I will say I have read some of the books. I am very much aware of what the books are, and I think they're kind of exciting. But there's more than I ever knew, and I'm not going to read them all. Maybe if I have a kid and I'm like, let's talk about the books. But here's the list of books just from what I'm looking at right now on Wikipedia. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz, The Road to Oz, The Emerald City of Oz, The Patchwork Girl of Oz, Tick-Tock of Oz. Ooh, Tick-Tock! That's that weird fucking clock guy that was in the Return to Oz movie. The Scarecrow of Oz. What is Rink-a-Tink in Oz? Okay. The Lost Princess of Oz, The Tin Woodman of Oz, The Magic of Oz, Glinda of Oz. And then there's like other works. Queer Visitors from the Marvelous Land of Oz. What are these? Story compilations and other works. The Woggle Book Bug, The Strange Adventure of the Woggle Bug, Little Wizard of Oz. Okay. All of these, by the way, 14 books came out in like 20 years. All of these came out before the movie. And you're like, these are crazy. I bet they'd make a really good collection, though. Like, if there's like a really big collection of all these, that'd be pretty sick. Oh, there's more. Because they get like another... Did somebody else start writing them after that was done? Okay, so yeah. L. Frank Baum wrote the original books, and then like post his involvement, there's the Royal Book of Oz, Kabumpo in Oz, the Cowardly Lion of Oz, Grandpa in Oz, the Lost King of Oz, the Hungry Tiger of Oz, the Gnome King of Oz, the Giant Horse of Oz, Jack Pumpkinhead of Oz, the Yellow Knight of Oz, Pirates in Oz, the Purple Prince of Oz, Ozja in Oz. Oh my God, Speedy in Oz, the Wishing Horse of Oz, Captain Salt in Oz, Handy Mandy in Oz. Handy Manny went to Oz. Are you kidding me? He take all his tools with him? Mandy from Mount Mern is a Mernite, a race of 7-handed people. What? One day, while Mandy is trying to gather her goats, the rock she is standing on is blown into the air and into Oz. She lands in whatever, in the Munchkin County, and meets Knox, the white royal ox. Knox the ox? That's sick. Okay, I'm on board. This is also the last appearance of Rugadoo, the Gnome King. And there's also the Silver Princess and the Ozo planning with the Wizard of Oz. The Ozo plan? I don't fucking care. Oh, look, more of them. Fuck. Okay. They're still going. There's still more books. Fuck. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know there were so fucking many books. Okay, I'm over it. I'm done. Okay. I have read a couple of them. And I'll tell you right now, if you ask any normal person, like, who are the characters in Oz, they'll tell you it's the witch, it's Dorothy, it's the dog, it's the lion, it's the Tin Man, it's the Scarecrow, it's the wizard. They're not going to know, like, the whatever, the white tiger or whatever I said. Any of that shit, Jack Pumpkinhead. They might know Jack Pumpkinhead. They might know TikTok, the clock robot. Maybe. But no, they don't, because young people don't know. And this is like something I always talk about, and I say this to so many people in my real life. The things we are referencing today, they're just not the things we were referencing like 10, 15, 20 years ago. When I'm watching a cartoon in like 2005, when I'm a young boy, the jokes they are making are about stuff from like a different era because the people writing them grew up in like the 80s and 90s and the 70s when we were referencing stuff from the 50s and 60s and 40s and stuff. Like it's so bizarre. Like the things we are referencing today in like our media today that's aimed for young people is stuff from the 90s. Like it's so 90s oriented for a lot of young people now. The music, the fashion, the styles. There's like that Netflix show where it's like, let's see someone go back to the year 2003. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Do kids today not know that TV shows used to do an entire episode dedicated to the premise of A Christmas Carol? Do they not do that anymore? I'm not watching a bunch of kid shows, but I can't for the life of me remember like the last one that's like a hit today for young people that reference this stuff. It's all about streaming and Twitch and bullshit like that. We don't do this anymore. We're losing recipes. Remember like that viral clip of guys like, women don't cook anymore. We're losing recipes. It's like that. We're just not referencing the stuff anymore. And it's been affecting my mind. Like so many times in my life, I can remember like someone just making a joke to the Wizard of Oz. Because it's just like, in Futurama, they're just like, and I'm the Cowardly Lion, let's just get on with the plot. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do. We all know what's happening. And I'm like, they don't do it anymore. No one's doing it anymore. So I'm like, are we losing the Wizard of Oz? Are we losing, like, the base layer of this? I don't know. Part of it is that MGM holds the rights to, like, a very specific filmic version. The Ruby Red Shoes is MGM. So we can't do anything with that unless you're doing an MGM thing. But MGM is owned by Amazon now. And that leads me into wanting to talk about Wicked for a little bit. Having not seen the movie, that is being produced by Universal. So Universal can only do so much in terms of how the characters look and act. They can't have the ruby slippers. They can't have the lion looking a specific way. They can't have the Tin Man and Scarecrow looking a certain way. Not that those characters are going to look like they need to in this movie. They're not there yet. They'll get there, but they're not there yet. Spoilers, I guess. But, okay, this is also the other thing I want to talk about. Is there spoilers for Wicked? It's a 20-year-old play at this point. And everybody who is excited about this movie, I'm guessing you are familiar with the play. Because does this play to normal people? I know it did like 114 domestic, but does this movie and this concept play to people that don't know about it? I think, okay. God, I'm getting too worked up again. I love when we have an episode that gets me really excited. Okay, I know musical theater fans are massive, and they're mighty, and they're strong, and there is a lot of them. I'm one of those people. So that is always going to boast an audience up. But is the fact that this is a Wizard of Oz property what's going to do that? Or is it more the pseudo-sexual dynamic of a woman who is a witch and then her sister is a witch or whatever? What is it? Like, is that the thing that's making it special? Like, these are two cool girls. One of them's a little, like, different. One of them's really popular. They go to the same school. There's a guy there that they both might like, but they also might, like, want to have sex with each other or something. Is that what's making it popular? And if we just stripped all of that of any connection to The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, does that still have the same popularity? Because I think it does. I think this musical would be just as popular without the stuff with Wicked. It was just like generic witch. Brand one. I think it works the same. I don't think the name gives this one any more credence than if it didn't have the name. Which leads me to once again think, is the very idea of like Oz and the Emerald City and Munchkinland enough to get people interested in this movie? Look, again, it's a whole other topic about like what do people want to see. The thing that we see a lot today is that people like going something where they know there's a name they can recognize, which is like if you're going to see Wicked and let's say you're just some guy and your partner wants to go see Wicked. You have no desire for it, but you know, you're a good person. You're like, I'm going to go. I dragged my partner to see Gladiator 2. They're dragging me to see Wicked. And you're like, I don't know anything about this, but is the idea that you get to meet the Wizard of Oz. You get to go to Munchkinland. You find out which character is going to become a Scarecrow and which one's going to become a Tin Man. Does that get you excited because you like the Wizard of Oz that much? I don't understand. But at the same time, it's the Wizard of Oz. Like, it might be the biggest movie ever, just in terms of like what people know. You could ask a child. They don't have to have the references in their media, but I'm sure a child can like figure out what the Wizard of Oz is. It might be one of the most problematic films ever made where like people were suffocating and dying and we drugged a child for half of it. But it's still so iconic and ingrained in the film history. It is just so ingrained in film history that even if you have never seen a single glimpse of this movie, you are so deftly aware of it. And I just find that so fascinating. When was the last time we've had that happen? Is there a modern film that has come out that has the potential to be that iconic? I don't think there is, because I think even 100 years from now, when we're in like 2124, we're still going to be talking about these specific films. It's going to be like, you know, Arrival of a Train, A Trip to the Moon, some Charlie Chaplin thing, The Adventures of Robin Hood. Then we'll do The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Citizen Kane, probably jump somewhere up to Singing in the Rain, Marilyn Monroe stuff, James Dean, the 60s and then 70s, and then all the way, like, it's still going to be there 100 years from now. It's still going to be something that's talked about. It gave us so much more color than we've seen in a movie at that point. It gave us so much more practical effects than we've seen in movies up at that point. It's one of the most important and interesting films ever created. And I stand by that. As insane and complicated and messy and deadly and insecure and traumatic as the production on that film was, where people were high and drugged up and suffocating and hallucinating and on the verge of collapse and damaged their bodies for good. There is more than one member of this cast that has ruined their body for good because of that film. It has survived in ways no other film has. It's more prominent than its book counterparts. And I know some people might say the books are more prominent, but they're not. They're just not. When you envision Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, you're thinking of this movie. And that's what it is. And I'm just so fascinated by like the enduring legacy of this, because it's not the books, which is so weird. It's not the books. And every so often, someone's like, well, we could try to just like throw stuff in there to even do it and make that work. Like, do you remember that there was like a couple of like Tom and Jerry go to like the Land of Oz movies from like a couple years ago? I know some people probably don't remember those, but I'm very familiar with what Tom and Jerry are up to because I find it so fascinating. Like, who was like, you know who would work in like the colorful world of Oz? Tom and Jerry. I'm like, that's a fun idea, actually. Just taking people to that place is fun. The Muppets did it. That was a cool idea. I mean, it's not the strongest Muppet movie or premise for Muppets, but that's what this is. Like, you could just be like, yeah, it's easy to throw a certain character into a certain, like, generic plot of that movie, and that's who they are. You could take any group of characters from any franchise and just be like, all right, well, Luke Skywalker is obviously going to be this character, right? This is Han Solo. This is Princess Leia. They're going to fall into the places. Which Beetle is going to go to which role. Like, everyone can fall into place where they need to go. And then you could do, like, insane remakes of it, like The Wiz, which is a very interesting movie. A Sidney Lumet movie that is just, what if we did a different style of this movie, of The Wizard of Oz? It's going to be a little more insane, and we're going to have different type of music, and it's going to be like capturing a different experience, but it's going to fall into line with the characters. And you're like, yeah, you can do that. And then It's Always Sunny can reference that later. Like, that is what this is. And I feel like we lost that with like kids who are like 5 and maybe 10, like that demographic doesn't think about that. But anyone older than 15, I'm sure you are very fully aware of this universe and these characters. And I think it's mainly just that one movie, because aside from like The Wiz, which has its own audience that kind of like exists outside of people that love The Wizard of Oz, the only other like huge interpretations that we've seen from that world are things like Oz the Great and Powerful, which was like Disney's big attempt to do a stupid movie. It was like Sam Raimi's last film before he did Doctor Strange, which is just a mess. And you're like, this isn't interesting to anybody. The origin of the Oz, like who fucking cares what like the wizard's doing? Who cares? It's lame. That one has its own story of like how the witch becomes the witch, and yeah, it's a mess. It's all a mess. It's such a bad movie, but it's not the first time Disney tried to do that, because earlier in the 80s, they also tried to do like a dark fantasy film called Return to Oz, which is like, what if Dorothy came back and she meets new people? The Emerald City's broken. She meets Jack Pumpkinhead, a freaky fucking pumpkin man, and a robot named TikTok. And it's just insane. It's an insane mess. And you're like, this is what the books are. This is a better like distillation of what the books are, which are fucking crazy. What if the most insane looking things you ever met were in front of you? Like, look up any image from Return to Oz. These characters are crazy. They're not as iconic as like the other ones either. You know, when you see like the Cowardly Lion from the 39 movie and like the Tin Man, Scarecrow, they're iconic. You look at those characters in Return to Oz, of course they have to be distinctly different from the other version. You get something so messy and stupid. And then like the Moose Head and TikTok, they're not as iconic looking. What an insane movie. That is like, you're missing the point. And that's the other thing too. Like, what makes a Wizard of Oz thing stay true in like the popular culture? Don't go insane with it. We want crazy designs, but we don't want them that crazy. We understand like a scarecrow coming to life looks like. We understand what a lion would look like. Don't go more crazy than that. You know, flying monkeys. Well, it's a monkey with wings. Okay, we know what a witch looks like. We'll design it. She's green. She's got a big nose and a pointy hat. We just cemented that forever in everybody's mind of what a witch looks like. It's that easy. It's that easy for that to happen. You know, like that's all they had to do. Is just that. And there's never been another example of doing it better than that first movie, and there still hasn't. And this kind of bleeds into like what I want to talk about with Wicked, and what we would talk about more if I'd seen the movie. Now, I have sporadically seen moments from the play. I have not seen the full play. I have not paid a ticket to see the play and seen it in full. But I have seen most of the play in snippets at different points in my life. I know the story well enough. There was at one point, I'll say this because she's not going to listen to this. There was at one point in my life where my sister was auditioning to be on a very prominent TV show, and you had to like do a rendition of a song, and then you like make it to like the next round. She chose Popular from the play Wicked, and that's why I'm very familiar with what that is. And I think it is such a specific concept for a play that I just lose interest in it and having any connection to the Wizard of Oz, because I don't care. This guy becomes a Tin Man. Great. Thank you. Like, I didn't know there was a Tin Man and a Wizard of Oz to begin with. Like, I know what we're watching. You don't have to spoon feed it to me. I'm aware of what we're doing. I'm so freaking aware. Don't treat me like I'm a baby. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's so weird. I just find this stuff utterly fascinating. Like, how can something be so prominent but not talked about at the same time? And I guess it's kind of like Avatar in that sense, where everyone's like, you can't name a single character in Avatar, but we all know it, and it still makes like $1 billion each month, you know? It's that kind of thing. Even if it's not like actively on your mind, you are fully aware of what we're doing and what's being said and how we're handling a situation. It's interesting. It's just utterly fascinating. And it's something I just enjoy seeing and exploring, is just how any of this happens and how we'll never do it again. I think, like today, with Wicked and Wicked Part 2, we are seeing the like footsteps leading us to potentially make a proper remake of The Wizard of Oz. Like, if there was ever a time to do it, I think it would be after we do these two movies. And even so, even if we properly do that, like fully remake The Wizard of Oz with the actors we have here, because look who could appear in a Wizard of Oz movie now. We could easily have Ariana Grande come back, Cynthia Erivo come back, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater. Have them all come back, right? And then get our young Dorothy in here, CGI the lion, Jeff Goldblum. We could do it all. Even then, with actors that people know from today, there is no way in hell that it's going to be as popular or revered as the 1939 film. There is nothing you could do. You could take those actors I just said to you, remake the movie shot for shot if you have to. It's not going to be as popular. It's not going to be as revered. We're talking about something that is film. When you think of film, there's a whole generation albeit they are in their 70s now, that are going to imagine The Wizard of Oz from 1939. And I think that's interesting. Like, personally, I 100% think this is leading. Like, The Wicked Part 1 and Part 2 is leading us to a musical retelling of the Wizard of Oz story. I think we're going there. I think it's setting it up. I think we are like laying the seeds down to get there. And we'll see how that happens. I do. I think that's where we're going. Even so, nothing you do will live up to Judy Garland. There's nothing. You can't. You cannot in any capacity. No matter how successful Wicked becomes, no matter how successful the musical becomes, which is already very successful, or this movie becomes, none of it is going to live up to what this movie did. This movie changed cinema. It defined cinema. It might have killed a bunch of people in their lives, but nothing comes close to what this film did and how it still exists in the popular zeitgeist. It is on a whole other level. And I am fine with Wicked. It's not a concept I think is interesting, and I don't think there's been another movie except maybe The Wiz that has been anything remotely interesting to what The Wizard of Oz was. But I don't know. There's something about this that just endures. Even if it's not popular. An episode of TV, like today, you could find a show, maybe it would be on SpongeBob or something, that would make a reference to it and people would still get it. So that's interesting. That is something worth exploring. I don't know. It's just so fascinating to me. It's so interesting. How did we get here? How did this work? Fuck. Man. I don't know. Maybe I should have watched Wicked before we did this, but it's not. I don't want this to be about Wicked. I just want it to be about like, how did this film permeate the culture to this day? Even if it's like sewn its roots into all of the history of film, nothing will escape it. Nothing will escape it. Do what you want, but Margaret Hamilton will always be the Wicked Witch. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it doesn't have people going to a fucking school. I don't know. It's it's just so interesting. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we talked about it. Because, the only other thing I think comes close to this is A Christmas Carol. Like, in terms of, like, everyone just knowing what we're doing. And that might be more so. There's another one that the Muppets did too. Oh, man. Good movies. Good movies. If you haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, which I don't know why you wouldn't have at this point, do it. And then read up about Judy Garland because she went through hell. It's amazing that she literally survived her life to the point she did. Do I want to watch Judy again, the Renee Zellweger movie? Oh my God, maybe I do. That poor woman. Okay. I don't know how much more I need to say about this. Go see Wicked this weekend. I'm sure you'll enjoy it more than Gladiator 2. Maybe. I don't know. Look, it's a good weekend for movies. It is a good weekend for movies. So check out movies this weekend, guys. And maybe watch The Wizard of Oz again. There's always going to be an updated version. There's a 4K remastered. It's that popular. It's that popular. I'll make you be popular. Yeah. And Ariana Grande's in the new one. Whatever. Look, thank you all for watching and listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. So have fun, stay safe, and good luck. And remember to follow the yellow brick road.